absolutely going for that. It's been a lot of fun.
One thing I want to do is
something
get
that's kind of interesting
the best
for me
gear.
is what is your guys' intention for kind of looting for characters? Because one of the things we've run into a problem of is you generally think of a mage as wearing light armor. You generally think of, say, a ranger wearing medium armor. You think of a tank as wearing heavy armor or a fighter wearing heavy armor. But we noticed that a lot of the statistics on this gear doesn't quite line up. Like I ended up wearing gear that visually makes me look like kind of a cleric, but it's also very good for mages. But one of the set bonus
I think I might
pieces,
roll a
set
tank, to
tier
be honest.
7, actually gave me healing power, which is useless for me. But the rest of it is very good for a mage.
I think at the wipe, I might go
Where's
tank.
the kind of intention here? Am I supposed to wear 5 pieces of light and 3 pieces of medium to get like kind of
Not to take your place,
multi-track drifting
Zodiac.
on
I
that?
just feel like there's not enough.
I mean, that's part of kind of the more horizontal player agency choice, right? Obviously, we have this, Holy Trinity design of
Tank
our
MP.
archetypes and our classes, but part of what makes it possible for you to hybridize
I'm around
or
200
flirt
hours
with
and for more
those
tests,
role
and our
lines,
focus has been working on
but
test drop
also
rates.
not just flirt with them, but react to the encounter design that you're facing.
And so which part am I reading? Kai, which one are you referring to? Oh, the loot tables from mobs and bosses have about... Oh, no, sorry. Hang on, let me read it. Loot tables from mobs and bosses have about 2 to 4% RNG chance of dropping gear. Currently, if your levels in comparison to a monster is greater than 3 levels apart, there will be a slight fall off in drop efficiency. In a party, this uses the greatest disparity as the whole party's comparison. If you or a member of the party is greater than 9 levels apart from the monster, then drop chances and XP is not possible. Oh, wow. Okay. So what you're saying is, as a rule of thumb, when you're fighting in a party, try not to have your party, it's probably safe to say, try to have your party within maybe 4 levels. Now, tell me if you disagree or if I'm wrong here. Sorry you don't have a microphone. It's only me. So you're telling me probably best to have a party no more than 4 levels apart so you can sort of share the XP. It's probably better for the higher level player because they're going to get more XP. And then don't fight mobs that are any more than 3 levels higher. Maybe stick to that. So if you're level 15, you essentially want to fight a level 18. And that would be your best drop chance. Is that right, Guy? Yes, keep members tight for XP. Done. We can do that.
There's a bit of agency over the types of gear that you're wearing. Now, right now, the artisanship system,
It'd be HP
even though
focused
there's a lot to it
HP
currently,
focused.
is still very much in its infancy. There's a lot of placeholder stuff. There's a lot of placeholder interactions. We're going to be tuning that as we continue forward and introduce additional systems. But really, the drop scenario.
And I haven't played tank, sorry. And Zodiac probably might be able to comment more here. But I think for me, from my play style, if I'm going to go tank, it's going to be a high HP so I can essentially tank and pull everything in. So pull a lot of aggro. But in the PvP instances, I know that the tank's got a few or some like lunging abilities and stuns and stuff like that, so you can catch people. So I think that was it. So either way, I'll be that person that can hold the fight, but also chase down the person running, stun them, so everyone else can follow up and come in. I'd like to think that's where
you're talking about are kind of hit or miss on what your intent is, and the economy through artisanship is really intended to
that
provide
pool is crazy, isn't it?
Granular choice making for the player.
I love that pool.
But
Every
the
time I see that
intent
pool, I'm
essentially
like,
behind what type of gear you should have.
You don't need the ranger to fire a bow or something like that. And that's the other positive. The fact that you can have an offhand as a bow, you just switch to it and you're the one who can still do the pull. You don't need to worry about someone else doing the pull for you. So I'll shut up.
Is entirely dependent on the type of challenge rating you're going up against. In a PvP scenario, it's a little bit more difficult to obviously control the types of damages that you're going to take or the offensive needs and capabilities that you have. So it's important on a gear grind front that you have potentially multiple options at your disposal depending on the encounter and the PvP that you're going into. From a PvE perspective, part of Ashes of Creation's unique design is a very dynamic world where these spawners for monsters and dungeons can change depending on what types of story arc decisions are made, what type of narrative structures get embraced, and which types of nodes advance to what levels and under what cultural influence. So everything is kind of tied together to be changing throughout your experience. And going into a PvE encounter or situation, you should have some cognizance over the type of incoming damage you'll be taking, which set type mitigates that best, your skill composition and choices that you've made, and what elements of the gear bonuses you want to emphasize.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things I was looking at is I can get 5 pieces of light with as much int as possible because I'm a mage, right? And then get 3 pieces of medium, and the 3-piece set for medium is actually bonus crit chance for baseline crits. So now I'm just
I did that with my fighter
stacking damage and stacking damage on the other side, and I get a little bit more.
I got full sets of.
I'm glad that that's kind of the intention because we were trying to figure it out. We're like, this whole set bonus looks cool together, but now what? That I think the other thing too.
That for a second. So for my fighter, the build that I've set out for my fighter is, I think it was a set of 3 heavy. No, it was a set of 5. It was a set of 5. I think it was 5 heavy, and then. Because this is where it's different. No, it was different. I know now. No, now. So you can do full light, medium, or heavy, and that will give you a set bonus. But there's another set bonus on top of that bonus based on the name of the gear. So you just call it fireplace, headpiece, fireplace, chest. You can do the medium set, and then you can add the fireplace set. So that's what I did for my fighter. I think it was the 5 heavy. Or maybe I had 6 heavy even. 6 heavy, 5 heavy, 6 heavy. But then I went 3 heavy of one kind, and then I went 3 heavy of another kind. So I ended up getting 3 set bonuses. So not max, like I didn't max it out and have just 8 pieces of that one set. I got 3 bonuses, 3 items. There's 3 items across 2 sets. Either way, I got 3 different set bonuses.
Visually, my character now looks like a magical hobo, right? Which is generally a thing that ends up happening. Is there any plans for like transmogging outside of cosmetics? Can I change my character to look the way that I want to? I think
I'm looking
the
forward to
baseline for this
transmog,
is
to be
World of
honest.
Warcraft does this phenomenally. Any item that you pick up, you get the skin for that item. You can go and mix and match and make yourself look beautiful. What are your plans around transmoggification
Already look beautiful
for the character?
Yeah, we have a very extensive GDD on transmogging and the ability to customize your visual appearance of sets, and in order to still maintain the player threat assessment capabilities, we intend to provide a buff that lives on a targeting plate should you be targeted by an opponent. That
You also have a
indicates
point
to
there,
them
Cassian.
kind of gear
It'd be
type
nice if the stuff you
composition,
picked up
but
looked
not
good.
necessarily what gear specifically it is. So we do want to have a very healthy and interactive transmog system. I think WoW does a great job with that. We will have something similarly robust.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by the number of people in chat that don't like this, which is very interesting. I think that one of the problems that I see in PvP many of the times is when you have a transmog system, you don't know what kind of armor the person is wearing when you have so many armor classifications.
Yeah, I
But if
agree
they
with
have a
this.
system
I'm
in
sitting
place
here
where it's
saying I
gonna
like
show if you're
transmog,
wearing
but I
light,
agree with
medium,
this.
or heavy when you click on that person, when you have them targeted, I think that makes the most sense. Like transmog is really cool because, to be honest with you, I like having transmog sets where I can just go show it off, or we can do tournaments and things where you're like, hey, everybody's going to go do this. You're not a fan, to be honest. That makes sense. I'm interested where the drawdown is, though. Yeah, someone's saying transmog bad, but why?
I think that players tend to.
You know what would be good? If you could turn transmog off. Like, even though they've got transmog on and they're using transmog, you have an option in your settings, view the world as transmog or view the world as not transmog. But at the same time, it would be nice if you collected a nice weapon. It looked good. So it gives you an idea. You feel like you're growing, where essentially from level 1, you're going to look like what you look like by end level. So yeah, I can actually see the pros and cons.
Look at transmog as an additional layer of obfuscation for you as a player in PvP to understand
Just
who
turn
and
in
what you're
in-game
going up
voice.
against.
That's what I need.
And that is why, from a design perspective, I've included this concept of essentially gear composition buff that players, when selecting a target, can see they're wearing 3
Just keep watching. What's the point of transmog? For the people that like transmog, Duffin. For the people that like transmog,
pieces of light and 5 pieces of heavy, that gives you an indicator of at least their kind of damage mitigation stat against what types of incoming damage power. So I think that to a degree kind of counters, the concern around transmog, but still allows for players to leverage that cosmetic kind of flair and customization option, which is what obviously transmog is intending to deliver on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and I think that's kind of the main thing. Is I usually see people being very upset about that being in PvP, and if you guys have a mitigation strategy for that, it makes a ton of sense. And
there is an additional mitigation, by the way. We also have a basic appearance mode that we're intending to deliver on for high player count battles. So when you enter into a siege environment, when you enter into a PvP event, you are then able to utilize the default player appearance perspective, which removes cosmetics and removes specific gear visuals.
You knew that was coming, Cassian.
Gives a basic appearance for each armor type, whether it be cloth, plate, or leather. This obviously cuts down on the rendering performance issues that can occur in high density battles. That we want to allow for, and allows players to have that perspective.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really, really good, actually. So something that came up in chat that's actually PvP related is kind of interesting. We saw the same kind of behavior in EVE. It's very common. You have one group come in, PvP a guy, and another guy come in and steal the loot because that guy is not flagged for PvP. He doesn't get attacked by Concord, which is like the space police, right? So you can kill people in protected areas with the one PvP group, and then the one guy steals everything. Is there any intention at all or planning to stop someone from doing that in this? Because right now you can do that. You can have that guy go and loot everything. He doesn't get flagged for PvP, and he can make out scot-free, and you get corruption for attacking him, even though he technically engaged.
There is a whole suite of features that are still outstanding when it comes to player loot piles and the bag system. First and foremost, when we talk about different types of bags that you can take, these are bags that relate to your material inventory. Obviously, as we know, having played the game, the intent behind player looting is that you drop a portion of your materials, not completed items, unless, of course, you're corrupt, and then players can loot those materials. There is intended to be bag progression and bag arcs that have different types of stats associated with them. One of those stats is interaction stat, which determines the amount of time it takes to open a bag on a loot pile that was a player.
That's interesting.
You can dial up a certain type of bag and equipment.
I don't mind that.
Requires much longer time to interact with. In addition, we have the concept of introducing flagging as a part of looting a body that is not a member of your raid, party, or guild. And if you do loot that body successfully after the required time, you will be flagged, and then can become a valid target in PvP. So again, it's just important to know.
Don't steal my shit.
And I know that we do ourselves to a degree a disservice as a game that visually looks like it has some polish to it, and that it has some pretty competent and core gameplay loops that are interactable with during alpha. But we are still very much in alpha and in phase 1. So a lot of these systems and features that are intended are still not yet online. And obviously that's the benefit of doing these types of Q&As.
Oh, definitely. No, I'm interested in seeing how the bag thing works out, because right now I feel the bags are in kind of a weird spot, but it's early alpha. Like that stuff gets changed out later. You get balanced stuff and everything like that. So I was like, well, that's weird. I'm going to wait on that, right?
Potentially, Duffin.
I do find it very compelling to flag someone for PvP when they loot something, even if it's 30 seconds a minute.
I don't think it was PvE the way I took it. It's only if they were killed by PvP. But if it's PvE, it might be open to the world.
Because then you got to be like, I don't know if maybe they're not, you know. And that adds a little bit of risk to it, and you got to think about it. You're like, do I want to steal that from that dude?
Prototype's loyal.
And also lets me set up traps.
Right, know? Exactly. And to be clear, I know some people I saw were asking, do you still have to spend that time to interact with your own loot pile? And the answer is no. You would evade any of that time constraint in interacting with your own loot pile.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I really like that. That was one of the things that's really weird is when you go to interact with your loot pile, you do the whole animation, you stand up, and then you get the UI. And I was like, God, I just want to pick up my stuff. Like, it's my stuff, you know, like, oh, is there anything that you guys have planned to show you which loot pile is yours. That led to a lot of
Yeah.
confusion among
Mm.
players where I was
Yeah.
like, which, what? And then I loot
That's
it
true.
and it shows that none
I think
of them
I
are
picked up
stolen.
so
I just
many
take it and,
people's
like,
stuff.
It's all stolen now.
Yeah, probably the two biggest things that are very much work in progress in the game is our UI and obviously the art when it comes to destroying certain destruction and polish around the environments. But UI is very much one of those things. We do intend to have a specific call out for your own
Mm.
loot pile so that
Something
it's
to
easily
test.
recognizable,
Definitely something to test.
as well as a mini map indicator of the location of your loot pile as well for you.
Okay, perfect. One of the ones that gets talked about a lot, I'm guaranteeing that they're going to do something for this, is
Oh, me too,
font
Cassian.
size. Font size is not scalable right now. Even I'm like, what the hell does that say? Right? Because like it's in the
know.
bottom left, it's a little tiny thing, you know?
I just had a conversation with our UI team about that this last week. Obviously, you can press the backslash button to kind of scale individual HUD elements, but of course that also scales the graphical component as well. There is an intent to provide the feature to scale the font in the future. When that comes online is probably not going to be until I would say phase 3. But for now, I just had a sweeping change. I'm not sure if it's in this build or if it's down in our QA branch and will come up next week. But it will just overall increase font size across the board.
Nice. And they're talking about it for cursor size as well, because that's a big accessibility thing. One of the things I brought up pretty early on was you guys have, and this is wild to see this in an alpha, fully modifiable UI. Everything is movable. That's huge. And also, and I haven't really seen this before, recolorable everything, man. Like being able to recolor different classes and things like that.
That's
A lot
good.
of people don't realize
I haven't
how big
touched
this,
it, but it's
deal this
good.
is for people with different types of color blindness. Is usually you set up like Deuteranope and like all these different types of color blindness settings, and they're locked into those. But giving them the ability to change colors across anything and all of those colors they can set themselves means that there's no having to fit into one of those, which is awesome.
I'm a big proponent of that, myself being personally green and red colorblind. It is an important aspect of accessibility, I think, that a lot of gamers, have to struggle with from a options perspective. That was a high priority to begin with, obviously. But as I said, there's a lot of stuff still to get done on the UI side.
It's funny, our artist is red-green colorblind as well. Same exact thing. And we built all the color accessibility into our games that way, where like it's just built into the game. They're like, where's the options? It was like, it's already built in.
They
Every
hired someone
environment
who's
is
already
structured to make
colorblind.
that work. Yeah. Make poison purple, you can just change that. Oh, you're talking about poison on ground. That's actually a good point. We
Yeah,
were finding
poison
a
on
lot of
ground
grassy
shit.
areas, and because the poison on the ground is green and the grass is green, the only way I knew I was standing in it was because I have a big red X on my back going, you can't be healed.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of stuff to do still on the VFX side as well. We have a great VFX team, but certain features, whether it be like, some highlights or Fresnels or, different components that just kind of help make the visuals pop without contributing to kind of the visual
Never
soup
really
and
used the
noise
ray
that can
frames.
occur sometimes in large battles. That's something that is, I think, a level of polish that comes a bit later. After we get through, obviously the initial implementation of all the abilities for the NPCs and the player characters.
Okay, so here's going to be kind of a hard-hitting one. There's a lot of people, and I've talked about this quite a bit, with the alpha access cost. It's $120. And a lot of people
Well,
really
here we
upset
go.
about
This is
that.
a
The way
contentious
that I've
one.
explained it to them is it's not just access to the alpha. It's about a year, maybe a year and a half or more of content for all of alpha, phase 1, 2, and 3, beta 1 and 2, a month of game time when it comes out. How do you feel about this? Because I know that wasn't the original offering and you guys changed it. So can you tell me a little bit about that process, the feedback that you received, how you felt, and why it changed?
Yeah, for sure. How do we arrive at what that cost is? Part of it is, as you described, allowing for an environment that is capable of holding, over 100,000 concurrent players is a far different cost profile than having an environment that is only holding, 20 or 30,000. And then especially when you compound that with the length of time that we expect Alpha 2 to run, which is, at least a year's worth of time. This is something that we want to accommodate the players who are willing and able and want to provide the testing side of this and the feedback to join us in that process. But we also need to be cognizant of the cost. because we don't have a publisher, we don't have a board of investors that are contributing to the development of the project. This is a personal endeavor of my own. So in order to kind of make sure that we are providing players an opportunity to participate in that, we came to the cost analysis of what it takes to achieve the levels of players that we're going to potentially see from an interest perspective. So when we initially announced that, obviously we saw the pushback that we got from the broader community, which, obviously I'm very much in tune and watching what players' sentiment and feedback is. So that's when I decided to go back and say, essentially that it includes all of the betas. And it was always intending really to include the betas. It was just going to be on a separate PTR realm. So it was still going to have the same content, but I wanted to preserve the beta players being on their own servers rather than allowing the Alpha 2 participants to kind of switch over to the beta servers as well. But we articulated that a little bit better, that it includes beta 1 and beta 2 as well. And I included a month of game time and some cosmetic currency that I felt would better be received by the player base. But ultimately, it does come down to what does it cost to service?
Look, it makes sense.
DevOps
it
and
makes
LiveOps
sense.
teams and all the server capacity, the CDN costs that come with downloading a 100 gigabyte game eventually. Like all of that stuff incurs cost. I have to account for that as a responsible management of the project's purview.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really happy with it because I think one of the things is when it did come out and it was like only alpha, I agreed. I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem like really good value. And immediately you guys turned around, you added beta, you added a month of game time, you had the $15 of currency, and I was like, you know what, that makes sense now. And now it's down to that. It moved away from I don't know about that to now it's a subjective experience. Is this good value for me? Do I feel invested enough in this game? And I always tell people this: if you don't feel like it's good value, don't buy it. Right? That's how that always has to go. You should be buying something that you feel is good for you, makes sense for you, and you're not being pressured into getting it. Right? That's how that should always go.
And I think there is a clear distinction also with how we approach the Alpha 2 access. I'm not spending money on advertising.
How many things are you
I'm
breaking,
not spending money on marketing. I'm not taking content creators or streamers and paying them to play the game and get the vision of the game out. That's not the intended phase right now. We're not in a marketing phase. So this is really something that players who want to, or testers who want to come and be a part of that process, they have an option to do so. And those who don't, I've released the visual NDA. You can.
When he says he doesn't pay for marketing, that's where I'd probably disagree. Because every month when there's an update and there's graphics on the screens, we've got Margaret, that, in my view, is marketing. Marketing is not doing anything. As soon as you release to the public and say, we're doing this, we're doing that, we update something on Twitter, that's marketing. So there's a small amount of marketing. Maybe the campaigns that he's talking about aren't there, but there's some marketing.
Watch others play it, and you can still provide feedback in what you're seeing. That's, in my mind, that's kind of the best of both worlds. It also ensures that there is some level of responsibility because the testers who are participating have made an investment essentially into that access, having that access. And so there, hopefully the bar of responsibility gets raised when that is the barrier of entry, that they're going to be willing to put up with the bugs and the crashes, and they're going to give their honest opinion and put in bug reports and do what's necessary in order to service the game during this phase. That is also an element of this. But I agree with you. Anybody who doesn't want to participate in purchasing alpha access, you shouldn't do that. Like, it is not a
regardless where it come from. You got to pay for that labor. You know what I mean? Like, you employed someone to do it.
You're looking to play a game. This is not yet a game. You might find fun here and there.
When they market it, they'll outsource it. They'll find an agency for sure.
Core loops, but we're nowhere near finished on fully feature development, on content in the game. Like, this is literally a testing environment. And a lot of people over the years, for MMORPGs specifically, have had a fictitious taste in their mouth of what the term alpha means.
Yep.
Because a lot of the alphas that you experience as a player are really just port overs from Eastern publishers into North American and European regions that are fully completed, fully fleshed out games, and they call it an alpha in order as a marketing gimmick to get higher box prices for players to come and play the game during that phase. It's kind of like an early access gimmick, and that has done a disservice to really what alphas are, which is more represented by the phase we're in.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I've been telling our players that the whole time, man. Everybody in the community, I'm like, this is what a real alpha is, and they're like, oh, it's all broken. I was like, yes, it's kind of the whole point, right? Is you break it right now so that when the game is finished, it's in a good spot. But people have been kind of poisoned against what the word alpha means and what the word beta means because you get all these games come out and it's like, oh, we're in alpha for how long? 5 days. It's like, the hell is that? That's not an alpha.
What are you gonna do in 5 days?
Nothing. Well, we're gonna do one bug fix. It'll be a month later. Right? That's ridiculous,
Right.
dude. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah,
Model Online.
Crazy.
it's absolutely insane to me. Yeah, no, it's good to see that for me. It's honestly good to see that. Oh yeah, here's something kind of interesting. Because we don't have quests right now, and we only have grinding in the open world. How do you feel about time invested per level gained by the player? Because the way that I
That's
felt
a lot.
about it
That's
so
a lot,
far is
Cassian.
it is quite long, and that's not for everyone. But I do feel very positively when I gain that level. But I can't understand from the other perspective of like somebody doesn't have a huge amount of time. What does that feel like for them? And like, dude, I've got a lot of time to play a video game. Right?
That's a super fair assessment of the current leveling experience.
Yep.
Probably our most completed core loop is the combat experience, engaging with the archetype, fighting with monsters and encounters. Like that is, I believe right now, our most compelling,
Hey, Westy, good man,
indicative,
good.
full feature focus of a gameplay loop. So what we're missing during phase one, and we fully, knew this, and we tried to express this outwardly, are those narrative components, are the artisanship progression paths, and they are the social organizations and the religions, like all of these separate progression paths that give you adventuring experience when you do them as well, but also have the power to influence the world in ways equal to, or in some cases greater than what adventuring leveling does. So right now it feels a bit a bit overtuned towards like monster grinding because that content isn't yet in the game, and that's what phase two and phase three are going to represent. So I would agree with you. Right now it feels a bit.
So as he said just there, so the people that want quests, and this probably go for you, Prototype. He did say that the current alpha state is going towards more monster grinding to get XP. The part where there's a quest and the other areas that require you to have more XP aren't in the game yet. So it'd be interesting to see what comes. 100% be interesting to see what comes.
Bit heavy-handed, and we could make some simple curve adjustments to faster level players in order to experience.
I'm happy with the leveling experience.
And to be honest with you, we do that on our PTR right now, which is just accessible by Alpha 1 participants. So, in our PTR, when we do testing during the week, we test every day. And we have, several hundred Alpha 1 participants, usually concurrently on a single server, helping us to test in PTR. We will toggle max level, give everybody max level, and we will give them gear and gold, and we will say, go test these things. Here's our hit list of fixes that we put in this build. Please make sure you hammer these hard. Like that's the intent there. But it is not something we want to bring over into the Alpha 2 testing environment, because this is really intended to be more of a soak than what those highly targeted PTR tests are. And so we want players to spend additional longer time moving through the leveling
this weekend
process,
will probably be a lot more
so that
crafting
we have an
for sure.
opportunity to collect more granular data and to address bugs that might be hard to find from our internal QA teams.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm super happy with that, man. Like I like the leveling experience right now, but I can understand it'd be too grindy for a lot of people. I play grindy games. And so this kind of a thing is totally fine with me. Having alternate routes
That
for
would be
it just
funny to
makes
see,
sense.
Kai.
You know, like any type of questing systems or things like that where people can come in and actually get some kind of progression. Because I feel like a game like this would be great with that core audience, but it will hemorrhage the more casual player if there's no other options, you know. So I'm glad. Yeah, I'm really glad.
And that is definitely why those alternate progression paths, again, have equal to potentially higher relevance in impacting
It's
the
a trip.
game, is because they also have varying levels of time investment
I
required
honestly,
to
so
progress
for the casual
there.
player, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that. So people go, oh, you can't play as a casual. You know, it's a very long grinding game. There's people grinding much quicker than I am. I can't get in the game. But for me, what I've seen so far from the alpha is that the leveling experience is the game. You can get in and you can play the game. That is the best part about it. From level 1, you're playing the game. You don't need to be level 50 to go, oh, I need to get to level 50 to play the game. You're playing the game at level 1. There's an experience for you. And your first mission is to get to level 10 to become a citizen. So that component just there from 1 to 10 is the game. Now you've just started again. At level 10, I'm a citizen. There's all these new features for me. I can use benches. Oh, let's go crafting. Let's go build that out. You know, and you walk through it. You step through it. So you don't need to rush it. And that's the best part about Ashes of Creation. If you don't need to rush. So as a casual, if you go, it's not good for me, don't stress. There's a start of a game. There's a middle. There's an end. There's all this other stuff in between. So yeah, you can as long as you don't have FOMO that you're not level 50 with everybody else. Because there is a game to play. There's definitely a game to play there for you.
But I will say, not
Yes, 100%, Kai.
not to conflate the issue. We will be on the grindier side of what probably most modern
Oh, you
MMO
think it's a
players
big
are
statement?
accustomed to.
You think the casual systems aren't? No, I'm saying I reckon in the current state, Kai, I'd be more than happy. I'd be more than happy to play this as a casual without having the casual systems in there, because, like I said, I feel like you have those steps of progression rather than going 1 to 50. I feel like I worked from 1 to 10, and that got me somewhere. So there's always a stepping stone that I can get to. And that's why I think it's much easier as a casual, because there's something to, because I played the first 2 weeks really pretty much casual, found some parties to link up with some other things, but yeah, just testing the gathering skills, professions, and then the quests. And I was quite content trying to figure them out and work them out on my way. I'm a casual player, not necessarily a sprint, but because of the life choices, I don't have time to grind 8 hours a day anymore. I'm glad if you can get 2 hours a day after launch. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I want that leveling experience to matter. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it mattered. It felt like it actually mattered. No, the game doesn't start at level 10.
And
game starts straight
that is
away.
a bit of a
Straight away.
callback to a more old school approach, of which you will find many callbacks in, the design for Ashes.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy about that, man. Because like,
No, at not one
there's
stage,
something that I
I'll
think
just
is
clarify that
missing
last
from the
bit.
modern.
At not one stage did I go, geez, I wish I was level 25. At not one point, it was like, I need to get 25 so I can try all this other stuff. But not at one point. I've enjoyed level 1, level 2, level 3. And that's where, I guess that's my opinion. And Kai, the fact that you said that they haven't released any of the casual systems yet, well, I didn't even know there were casual systems. So I'm excited for that too. You had the same experience? Yeah, I enjoyed your pay last week and gained 3 levels, but the risk of pulling mobs also prevented the FOMO for me. Risk of pulling mobs? Gotcha. Just keep in mind there's still some really important systems missing that are geared towards casuals and life skillers. Well, that's good. That's good, Kai. I didn't even know they were coming. But what I'm saying is that the best part about the game for me is that it's ticking so many boxes in so many different areas. So if there's more to come, that's even more exciting. Yeah, I was not even aware that it was coming.
When I go play World of Warcraft retail, I don't feel like leveling is part of the game. I feel like it's an obstacle to get to the game. And when I play this, I feel like leveling the journey for that has felt like it is part of the game, which is something I didn't realize how much I missed, man. And like that's one of the reasons I've just been so into it because of that. So
it's like that was part of the conversation we just had.
And very true, right? Like modern day MMOs, I mean, why do MMOs do that today? Obviously, the most important aspect of an MMORPG is the social component, right? There's a reason why it's massively multiplayer, and that's because the elasticity that comes with a social atmosphere is what you want to induct the player to as quickly as possible from a new user experience, right? Because then your chances of keeping that player are much higher. And oftentimes in the legacy MMOs that you're talking about, where it feels like leveling is just an obstacle, it's because that leveling process is devoid of players. There are no new players really in those starting zones, in those starting processes. They want to graduate you as quickly as possible to endgame where the rest of the player population is, so that they induct you into the social elasticity.
Much more fun with his players to level with. One of the
strengths of Ashes of Creation's design is that our social environment exists around nodes. And the world around the nodes dynamically adjust, not 100% of the spawners, but around 50 to 60% of the spawners to reflect differing levels of engagement. So even as a new player coming into a brand new zone, I'm not thrown into the wastelands of the new player experience. Instead, it's more likely that nodes, if I'm joining 6 months down the road, the nodes closest to the starting experience are the most booming, and there are environments around me where I get to see higher level players doing things while I am taking my path of the either curated or static, level progression design throughout that process.
See, I like that. See, the nodes keep it busy. The nodes keep it busy. You might be able to grab someone. So that's good. To that point, they're keeping areas busy, and I like that a lot. Osh, that may be a way to get those people there. Maybe. I'm such a big fan. I'm a big fan of social elements. That's why I want in-game voice. I need in-game voice. So when you're running past, hey mate, how you going? Keep running. Especially with how the archetypes complement each other. The node at the moment. So I'm a citizen of Joeva, but I was running for mayor there. But now that I didn't get it, unfortunately, I didn't get it. So when we go back in this weekend, I have to see, is that the best node for me to be the citizen of? So I didn't pick Joeva as a node to be a citizen. I picked it mainly just to run for mayor. But we'll see out of the 5 which ones I'll probably go settle with. I'm not sure yet, not sure. I mined 40 rubies. 40 rubies! Like 10 minutes. Wow. Did you go sell them? Remember, Ashes strive to be the Sandpark MMO. So there's going to be casual and hardcore components. There's going to risk and reward. So I think it's kind of people going to enjoy this maybe. I think a lot of people will enjoy it 100%. Do you think we'll join the same node as a guild? Or is it better to spread? At this stage, I think it'll be better to spread based on the buildings that get built in the node. So if you're crafting, if you're doing lumberjacking and they've got argument's sake, they got some high-end lumberjacking building, you probably want to be a part of that node as a citizen. Because then you're going to benefit the guild anyway, because you can get all your stuff, give it to someone else who's another citizen on another node, and you can level up that way. I think if the whole guild is citizens of one node, that would probably not be as beneficial. But at the same time, things to look at. Probably the one that's furthest away because people be lazy. Potentially. You store them? Nice. So here's something I recommend if your guild controls a node. Make sure the mayor you elect is a healer. So if he dies, he can fly back and res people. Aha! This is a great temp solution till we can make res scrolls. That is a good solution. Looking for a guild cooperation. Cooperation is a must. 100% it is. 100%. Guilds definitely need to cooperate.
And I can be a part of these pseudo factions, even if my level disparity is great. That is part of the benefit that Ashes of Creation's dynamic and node-driven world provide us that a lot of legacy modern-day MMOs do not have the advantage of.
So with that in mind, one of the things that I really liked about EVE that was quite cool is any player can enter the world. They can become a part of the economy immediately because there was kind of a base set of materials that you can get from any mining, right? So you can get tritanium, you can get pyrite, you can get these basic materials, and they're used in every craft in the entire video game. And that allowed any player to engage in the system.
I'd say yes.
Does the crafting right now fit that? What is the goal that you guys have for crafting to not leave the new player out of that process?
Absolutely. The entire crafting system is built from the ground up. A lot of times you'll find crafting systems that are the inverse, where the goal is to reach the top and then everything is driven by the top down. That is not how, I have wanted our crafting system to kind of exist. And the reason for that is in some of the games that I played in the past, having that kind of strong foundation where everyone can have access to contributing to the base layer of the foundation that the rest of the artisanship levels are then predicated upon, you constantly have an importance and or a demand from the economy to continue to receive those resources. Just to be clear, as I said, the economy is built foundationally from the bottom up. And the important thing about the economy to keep in mind, which is probably difficult to experience right now because not a lot of the systems are online yet, but the infancy of them are. It's that resources as they kind of spawn throughout the world, their location can change,
but at the same time, I found it hard to join them.
Instigates players to move resources so that they can sell them relevant to the crafting locations and workbenches that are available in nodes, and we kind of changed those spots. But to answer your question, essentially, yes, we are very foundationally ground up perspective from the economy. So you get the most investment from the least level of barrier to entry at the lower levels, and then they populate and support the high.
We still have this interview still goes for another 40 minutes. 40 minutes. I'm gonna get to bed. So what we're going to do, because we've got 40 minutes, I can't do another 40. I got to get to bed. But what we're going to do, we'll be on tomorrow night. What have I got? Oh, I've got a new tool. Hang on, before I go to bed, let me show you the new tool. Hang on. Where's the Ashes of Creation? I like this new tool. I'm going to utilize this a bit more now. Let me get this bad boy up. Bring him over here. We'll put him up here. That's bright. Oh, not this one. This one. Yours solo farming level 20 gobbies at level 13. Jesus. Fight are really good for solo, in my opinion. Specifically, when you get the lifesteal ability, you're unkillable. I was looking at that lifesteal ability. I'm like, do I want that? I wasn't sure. Depends what melody you use and build and go for. I reckon there's definitely farming builds and there's definitely PvP builds. But I'll just show you. Look at this new tool. Hang on, where is it? I haven't used it really yet. Is it here? What's that highlighter? There's a highlighter. Didn't even know there's a highlighter. Yeah, that's not big enough. Can you make it bigger? There we go. I can highlight shit. There we go. Look at that. And then we can also draw shit, which is great. Kayla Riverlands. Oh, that's a bit big. I need to get a pen maybe. Look at that. I've even got a timer so it disappears. So good. So good. How do you cancel that a bit? Play cleric. You can't kill anything. Like I said, though, I wouldn't recommend playing the game solo as there's no advantage. Are you saying a level 13 cleric could take on a level 13 mob like the bard? Definitely not. Definitely not. I feel like the cleric's not too bad. I feel like the cleric's got some nuke abilities that are crazy. Has anyone tried, because I'm just playing with this stupid pen now, has anyone tried running past into the hills? So you got over there, I think we've got up around here, and we've got, this is pretty much what we've got. Is this right? I think that's pretty much all we've got at the moment. What happens when you get to the edge? I threw on a shield and mace and went town AoE farming on my cleric. Was super fun. Oh, really? Good time, Chuck. You're telling me you went with a mace and a shield, and you just pressing Q? Oh, there's red walls that keep up from leaving. Okay, I actually not have been to the border. I have no idea what it looks like. I'm looking forward to getting on a boat and sailing out. That's all I'm looking forward to. All right, I'll stop stuffing around. There's red. Oh, and what did I miss? No, all good. Well, I'm going to stop stuffing around. Where's my camera? I've got to move that now. I'm going to look stupid if I don't move that. Put that where it was. Oh, I was just blocking it anyway, wasn't I? Yeah, throwing it hot on myself, telling a divine flare to also no damage and mend myself when my health got too low. Really? Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the open sea. The open sea combat is going to be wild. Boats are going to be the part that I think will really make people fall in love with the game. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And look, I think you got a choice, whether it's boats or not. But look, I'm heading to bed. Look, that was a good video. We haven't watched all of it. We're still at 40 minutes. I probably won't do it tomorrow. So if you haven't watched it already, and you want to continue watching it, here's the link. Make sure you get in, have a look at that. Watch the rest of it, see what's there. I'll probably watch the rest of it. Hey, thanks, good time, Jack. I'll probably watch the rest of it tomorrow at work, or on my way to work. But tomorrow night, we've got some builds. We've got some plans to do to make sure, what are we doing for the weekend? What do we need to test? What do you need to see? What are our options? Mob farming spots, crafting. Like I said, I'm definitely going to do some crafting. We need some more crafting. I want to make bronze ingots. So we'll see how we go. What did I miss? Played cleric to level 11 last weekend, but pretty much healing only. They got some nuke abilities. They're pretty good. So Westy, I might. So I'm renovating my house. So I've still got multiple rooms that I need to paint. So unfortunately, I can't play the whole weekend, but I'll be on every night. Question is if I get up in the morning and play first, maybe. But yeah, I'll be on every night for sure. Just got to do the rest of the renos and see how we go. But other than that, the Circle of Healing does QOE damage. Judgment does a lot of damage. Yeah, there was ability. Wasn't there was ability to use one of them, use the other. It comes down as a nuke. It's crazy. We can't do crafting this test as we can't do apprentice level things. Can't you? See, I thought apprentice, where are we? So apprentice, because you can come over an apprentice. Because in phase 1, level 25 for artisan professions, novice, apprentice, journeyman. Yeah, I need to mess with it. It sounds, hang on, just let me get my little pen. I'm testing it. Right here. And a highlight. Or highlight in yellow. Right here. Level 25. Oh, it's too small. I'm practicing. So what do you mean? That's not on? Because some people are apprentice. I'm sure of it. We can't get the towns up that stage before the test ends. Really? I'm sure we've got some apprentices in something. You're a journeyman fisher? Maybe your server's not working hard enough, Kai. Tell them they've got to work harder. Tell them to get in. They've got to work harder. But look, I'm going to shut up. I'm talking shit now. Let's see who we got to raid. So like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. We're actually going to do some important stuff. We'll be going through Ash's codex. While we're going through the codex, we make sure our build's on point. Make sure we know what gear we're getting. We might get a crafting menu together. See what we can craft. See what we're going to obtain from that crafting perspective. But you're probably right in the sense that our node's probably not high enough on Castus. Castus will be pretty low from where we were because it only started last week. But it doesn't mean that we can't test our crafting abilities now. So, as I said, I've lost everyone. Let's click the raid channel. Who are we raiding? Is anyone worth raiding tonight? Oh, I've still got the highlight on the screen. Let me undo that. Jay, he's playing New World. Where are we going? Any Ashes or Creations people worth rating? We have a timer and a timer. Oh, you guys aren't going to want to watch a timer. Do you guys want to watch a timer? There's 3 timers. The 3 timers of Ashes and Creation. What are the chances? All right. What we'll do, I'm just going to untick this. Jay plays. Oh, he just got on. See, I don't want you sitting there for 10 minutes waiting. Is anyone worthwhile? Geez, no one streams at this time of the night. No, can't see anybody worthwhile. Well, what we'll do, if you haven't already, thanks for sharing the experience. Did I miss it? I'm on it. I'll read the chat. I'll read the chat after I'll read the chat. But what I'll do, if you haven't seen it already, some of you may have already. We'll go raid Golnor because he's playing PAX Day. And if you haven't seen PAX Day yet, it's a game that I used to play, still do play, but it's not a bad game. It's similar to Ashes of Creation, but it's a lot more crafting, a lot more building involved. Let's just see who's see if I know anyone who's currently streaming it. Damon. We'll go give him a quick raid. So check that out. Ask some questions. Have a look at it. You might like it. It's on special at the moment. I think they got 25% off. So if anyone's interested in PAX Day, you can definitely go and check this out. That's a pretty good game. Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you very much. See ya.